Business Takeout presents The Takeout Effect with Banki. The Takeout Effect brings real conversations in business.
Welcome to The Takeout Effect, bringing you real conversations in business. I'm your host, and my name is Banki. The Takeout Effect is brought to you by Business Takeout. Business Takeout is a nonprofit social enterprise. Its mission is to increase Black wealth and empower Black entrepreneurs. Today's guest is a veteran TV producer and writer. She's the founder of FKB Media Solutions. She has worked in the field of journalism for over 20 years. It is a great pleasure that I present to everyone Fennella Bruce. Hi, Fennella. How are you?
I'm great. I'm blessed. How are you doing?
I am doing great. We have so much to talk about today. We're going to discover your entrepreneurship journey. We'll talk about mentorship challenges as an entrepreneur. And we also look towards the ending of the show. We have a game called Business Confessions. And Fennella, do you have a business confession, Fennella?
Are you a certified priest, Banki? Is this between just you and I? It's the confession for the world.
Yep. So before we find out whether or not Fennella has a confession or not, we have a message from our sponsor. Today's sponsor is Banki Designs. Banki Designs is a creative branding and design agency that specializes in graphic design, web design, and social media content creation. Now, let's hear a message from our sponsor. We're back. So, Fennella, we're going to dive right into it, starting with 20 years. Looking at your resume, not your resume, your bio, and I'm seeing CTV News Channel, CTV National, CP24, City TV, Toronto One, and BET. Just some of the places that you've been able to bless your presence. I'm just going to ask, how did it all started? How did you know that you wanted to get into journalism?
20 years. I started working when I was 10. When you say 20 years, it sounds so long. How did I know that I wanted to get into journalism? I didn't at first. I mean, I always had an interest in writing, and I had an interest in a childhood curiosity in television, like trying to understand how people got inside that box, and there was stuff happening. I wanted to know how that happened, but I didn't make that connection probably until I was in university. I went to the University of Toronto Scarborough campus, and I did my undergrad degree in English. And at the time, I had applied for journalism at Carleton University. I got in, and I applied to York University. And I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to do journalism. So I decided to not go to Carleton because I didn't want to just be narrow focused about it. And I went to U of T, and I did my undergrad in English. When I was there, I was writing for the Underground, which was the U of T campus paper. I was writing for the Varsity, which was the downtown paper. I was program directing for the radio station, and I had my own radio show. So I knew I was interested in media. The only component that was missing was television, because they didn't offer it at that time or anything to that in that area. And so by the time I finished, I was approaching my final year. I started looking for options to pursue my journalism passion that I knew at that time that I definitely had. And I saw that Ryerson had a graduate degree program. And so I applied for that, which was a 2-year program. And I got into that program. And the rest is history. That's how I got into journalism. I did my degree, I finished. And then I I did a little bit of, that was I think my first sort of taste of entrepreneurship. I got out, of course, I got out thinking, as everybody does when they're in journalism school, that I wanted to be a reporter. And I did all my demo tapes and I sent it to everybody. And I thought they'd call me and I'd be on the air. Nobody called. But in the meantime, I was doing some public relations for community groups because I was trying to, still use the skills that I learned at school and keep myself busy and be doing something. So when someone asked what I was doing, I could actually say what I was doing something, right? And in that time, I interned at CTV as an editorial assistant, and I was volunteering at City TV, and that's where I got my first break. I was volunteering there, helping reporters, doping tapes, going out on shoots, doing pre-interviews, and I would practice writing as well, and I had a gift at writing. And there was an opportunity on breakfast television for a part-time position that opened up, and I was encouraged to apply, and I did, and I got that position. And now it sounds great on paper, but it was really it was starting at 4 a.m. and I was living in Scarborough at the time, so I had to get up at 3 a.m. And it was only until 9 o'clock, so it was really a 5-hour job that I was going in to do from Monday to Friday. But it was on the #1 morning show, and it was a great opportunity, and it was my foot in the door. Yeah. And so I did that. I got the job in like October, and by February, I was offered a full-time position, and then I moved up to the 6 o'clock news and the 11 o'clock news, and I worked there for quite some time.
Amazing. Two key things that I've recognized is the first thing, you knew what you wanted to do. In a sense, you didn't know that you wanted to do journalism, but you knew you wanted to do something in relation to writing, and you followed what you knew.
But even to that point, I didn't even know what a producer did, which I ended up being for most of my career. And it wasn't until I was in the environment and I learned the different positions, and writing gives you that opportunity to work with everybody in that position. You work with camera people, you work with the editor, you work with assignment, you work with producers. So when I got an understanding of the newsroom and the opportunities and the positions and what was involved, then I narrowed down, okay, yeah, you know what? I became a senior writer, and then I became a producer and continued producing shows. But certainly when I was in journalism school or prior to that, I never said, hey, yeah, I want to grow up and be a TV producer or TV news producer. It wasn't something that I had envisioned. Yeah.
No, fully, I get it. So it was just a matter of you having an idea of what you wanted to do, and once you dived into it, it really put you on the path on what you're destined to be, which is, I think, it's amazing.
Yeah, and one thing I always tell, like I mentor a lot of students, or when I give people advice, is to always be open to everything and to learning skills, because you may not think at the time. When I was in school, and you had to do everything in school, so I learned how to do camera, I learned how to do lighting, I learned how to lay out a magazine, all these different things that I was like, but I want to do television, and I'm not going to be a camera person. Why do I have to know that? Well, look at where we are today, Banki. We are setting up our own cameras. We are editing for social media and other things. We are lighting ourselves. And so I just had to dust off that memory bank, and it came back to me like that. And I mean, that's now something that's part of my business model that I'm training other people to do, because I know how to do it correctly.
Nice. That's awesome. And just the second part that I got from your journey as well is that you sacrifice, meaning to get your foot into the door, you sacrifice waking up 4 o'clock in the morning.
3 o'clock in the winter when it's cold outside and nobody's outside. It's very quiet, I can tell you, driving down the Don Valley in the snow when nothing's being plowed.
For those who are watching internationally, we're in Canada, and the snow is not pretty out here.
It is not. It's not a good experience. But yeah, I think it definitely, if you have a dream, or if you have an idea, or you have a passion, part of that recipe is going to be sacrifice. Definitely. Right? Whatever that may be, sacrificing going out with your friends, sacrificing socializing, sacrificing sleep sometimes, sacrificing financially, right? If it's something that you really want to do, you've got to always think big picture, and not just at that moment, oh, I'm not getting to do whatever it may be because I have to work or I have to do something.
Yes. Which brings me into my next question. I've seen you on another show where you spoke about betting on yourself.
Yes.
And how important is it for entrepreneurs out there to really put your best foot forward and bet on yourself?
And I want to make it clear. I started saying that before Fred Van Vliet said it. Okay. I think it is so important to bet on yourself. And, I always make this sort of analogy that, when you're in a job working for someone else and you're going in and they're paying you every 2 weeks to do the job for them and to do whatever it is that you're doing, right? Even if it's, customer service, whatever it is you're doing, those people are, in a sense, betting on you to do a good job for them so they can make money, right? That's the end goal. And so if you're doing that for somebody else, why wouldn't you do that for yourself?
Exactly.
Right? And so I think it's so important for people to recognize their skill set and their abilities, and to, if I'm going to bet on anybody, because I have control of me, I'm going to bet on me. I don't have control of anybody else and circumstances or what they choose to do, but I have control over what I'm going to do. So that's a sure bet for me. I'm always going to make that bet.
And I definitely agree with you there. Bet on yourself all the way, because at the end of the day, you got your back when no one else does.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of fear, because one of the reasons why people don't bet on themselves is because they fear something, right? Maybe they fear success. Maybe they fear the challenges that comes with it. What is the fear that you've had to overcome?
Well, I would say I can give you two comparisons or two examples. Definitely, when I was working in the industry, I was raising my children by myself mainly, and financially. And so, there's a number of times the media industry is very volatile that layoffs were happening, and it happened to me, right? And so I definitely walked on eggshells at certain periods because I was afraid of losing my job. And then how could I, take care of my kids, or how could I pay for my house, or how could I do those sort of things? But I'll tell you that fear is one of the things that motivated me to start my own business, right? So that I'm in control of my destiny, right? And whether I'm financially secure or not. And so then the second example is definitely when I decided to leave my secure and comfortable job to go and start my own business, which I did 4 years ago. And of course, I'm afraid, like, okay, what if I'm so used to, for the last 25 plus years, every 2 weeks getting a paycheck and not having to worry about, next week if I'm making enough money. How am I going to sustain myself, right? My lifestyle and my expenses that I have to do that with a new business, and I'm not even entirely sure what I'm doing, right? So definitely there was a fear factor. But one thing that I always do, and it's part of my business name, right, which is FKB Media Solutions, is that I always if there's a problem, I always try to find a solution. I don't like people bringing me problems without a solution. And I don't like giving people problems without a solution, right? So I always try to have a plan B, right? So I sat down, when I decided that I was going to leave my job, and I was like, okay, so, worst case scenario, nobody hires me. Or, I run through my safety net, right? After, my security finances after 4 months, what will I do? Right.
Yeah.
And so then I had, okay, I can do this, I can do that, I can freelance. I still have those skills. It's not that I'm leaving my job and I can't do what I, was doing. I can always, I have great relationships with people at various media stations. So I know that, if push comes to shove, I can always, and there's no shame in it, I can always go back to what I was doing until I can, make sure everything is secure again. So, I had to, get my mind around that. Okay, so that's, possibly a plan B. There's, if I had to, I could get a loan, right? That's a possibility. Whether it's through a bank or whether it's through friends or family, I know that, my family's not going to let me be on the street at the end of the day, right? So I know I have that support, right? So I was like, okay, you know what? The fear was kind of going down. Okay, it's not that scary because you have a couple of options, Fennella, if you find yourself in a pinch. And it wasn't just even me telling me that. There's other people who supported me in terms of my desire to start my own business that said, hey, if you ever run into anything, come back. We'll, give you some shifts. We'll hire you, et cetera, et cetera. So I felt comfortable with making the decision to go out there and try to run my own business.
And one of the things I've noticed is that you look at, okay, long term, where might I be in the next, maybe it's not that long term, but where might I be in the next couple of months? Or where might I be in the next year? And if I was to be in the worst case scenario, what solutions is available to me? Which, what you're doing is you're formulating a plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is every entrepreneur, if you're listening there out here, and you should really look at a plan, short term, long term, and set goals. And I think that would 4 years later.
4 years later, I am busier than I've ever been. So it's the plan. I didn't have to go to the emergency plan.
Nice.
Luckily, yeah.
So COVID came 2020, right? I know that when you spoke about as an entrepreneur, one of your fears would be, am I going to get laid off? And, are they going to fire me? Those type of fears. When COVID came, I noticed that a lot of people were in that predicament where they got laid off because, the companies weren't able to afford them anymore, or they realized that they weren't happy in the positions that they were in, and they went towards entrepreneurship. So how has COVID impacted your business comparison to what it was like before COVID?
The pandemic has been very good for my business. I've actually gotten a lot of work. A lot of people, as I said to you, now we're all sort of producers of our own presentations. So there are a lot of people who are now getting access as well to media opportunities and want to make sure that they're presenting themselves properly, that they are getting their key messages out, and want to also pitch themselves to news organizations. So I've gotten a lot of clients that way because of the opportunities that the pandemic has opened up for, I guess, I think a segment of the society to get access to being on mainstream media. And so definitely in that way. And, I myself, with my business, I've done a lot of things that I think I wouldn't have been able to do if we weren't in a pandemic, like in terms of a lot of live stream production, which is what I do as well, because it's very similar as television production. So I've been doing a lot of live stream events and producing those events, as well as my own live stream events and hosting those events as well. Because the thing is that particularly in terms of time, right? Being able to, even do this with you. Like normally, if we're in the normal time, you probably would say, hey, come down to my studio and we sit down and interview. So all of that time, I don't have to factor in to doing things like this, right? Or doing things like this on my own platform, which I have on my website. And so that has helped me in terms of time and more time to do other projects and all those sort of things. So I know the pandemic has been hard for a lot of people, but for me, actually, it's been a very good time for my business.
And I'm glad to hear that. Also, I wanted to really talk about what type of services. Not many people know about FKB Media Solutions, right? And I know within the Black community, before, just recently, as of COVID, people see the need to be more in the press, wanting to be having the exposure for their business, right? Before, when people wanted that, they didn't know what direction to go to get that, right? Can you go into more details about the services that you offer and the type of solutions you give to
Sure.
your clients?
Sure. So I'm a media consulting business, and I offer. I generally work with small businesses, entrepreneurs, professionals who want to get their message and their brand out, mainly to in the mainstream arena. That's obviously in television is where I have my strongest contacts, but in general in mainstream media. And that's not to say that I don't also do community as well, specifically the Black community. I think, excuse me, I think that sometimes we undervalue our own media and the power that has to get a message out. So,
Sure.
but there are a lot of people who want to be, on mainstream media and they don't know how to access it. So I help people in terms of, like I said, with media training, in terms of packaging, making sure that they have what's needed to present to the media if they want to pitch themselves, their business, their story. So I do that. I also do, as I mentioned, live stream production and television production, copywriting and editing, and I do media sponsorship acquisition for nonprofit groups and events. Um, I do a live stream partnership that I have with University of Toronto Scarborough campus at the
Nice.
hub. So we do that every month, and we have actually two uh, live streams this month for Black History Month on February 15th and on February 22nd. So I encourage people to go to my website, fkbmedia.com, and the information is there under live stream. And so, and we do that, and it's called Inspire, Overcoming Barriers to Success. And we talk to people from different walks of life, race, gender, sexuality, um, things, barriers that they may have that they've overcome to be successful entrepreneurs. So it's just a conversation, and then we have a Q&A at the end, and the speaker lineup is dynamic. And so I encourage people, it's free. I encourage people to sign up and attend. So I've been doing a lot of that and some, different hosting events as well. And so, I mean, that's sort of the services that I offer in a nutshell, right? But I also, one of my goals, Banki, as well, is coming from the Black community and working in mainstream media. I understand there's a mystery about how to access and be on television, and it kind of is a two-way thing, because there's things that the community, quite frankly, has to get ready, prepared, right, so that they are like, there's no excuse not to have them on, right?
Yeah.
And so I understand. I understood what needed. There was a gap there. There was an issue that needed to be filled, and so I try to provide that. And I understand too that people feel more comfortable speaking with somebody that looks like them, right? And so it's a little bit intimidating going to, like, a white PR company or a bigger company, and it's also a lot more expensive. Not to say that I'm cheap, but it's a lot more expensive to go to one of those companies and try to say, oh, could you help me, get my message out? So I can't do everybody, right? I have a small team, but I can't do everybody. But so what I try to do is educate the community in the best way I can, right? So my website is a portal of information, and I encourage people to go and check it out. I have examples of media releases on there, and they're all media releases that I've gotten coverage. So you can see how to write a media release. I have video tips on there so that you can understand about branding and creating your message and what you need to do. I do workshops, and many times they're free, or they're like a $10 donation to a charity that I'm supporting. So it's not something I'm trying to make money off of. It's something that I try to educate people about, and then still, do some social good with it, right? So I do workshops, generally on a monthly basis. But I'm doing a live I Inspire right now, so probably be in the summer I'll pick that up again. But we have that. I have a newsletter that you can sign up for that has tips that people get every week and information about things that are coming up, and how to access the media and what you need to do in branding, et cetera, et cetera. So there's tons of stuff on my site that's for free that you can go in there and spend some time. And I actually just started an FKB Media store, and there's Yeah, and so there's two downloadable best of. We did a best of our Media Gatekeeper series and our best of our Media Spotlight series. And these are like it's Arissa Cox, who is the host of Big Brother Canada. It's
Mm-hmm.
Ed Green, who is an anchor at CBS in the US,
Right.
and they're talking about their journey, but also how to access these types of shows and get your stories heard, right? And then the Media Gatekeepers is Stephanie Hines, who was a producer on The Social and is now a producer on eTalk. Amar
Mm-hmm.
Sodi, who is the news director for I think all of the city news stations across the country, right? And Dana Gorley, who is the senior news producer for CBC. And, they're giving you gems, right? Telling you how to get your stories told, right? And so that's available on my site. So I like I said, I can't help everybody, but this is my way of servicing the community, and so that they can get the information that they need to get their message out. Because I think that we have a voice, we have things to say, and we have products to sell, that we have, as my right as anybody else, to be out there doing the same things.
I love it, love it, love it. And what I love the most about it is people with experience that are currently in those fields, that have knowledge. They have years of experience, and they're telling you this is what you should do. And if it means to donate, donate. Why not? Because you're investing in yourself and you're betting on yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you offer all of that. And I know that you have, is it 60 seconds with Selena? How does it work?
60 seconds of FKB. So let me just clarify,
Okay.
because everybody trips over this. FKB is my initial. So
Yeah.
Fennella, Karen, Bruce. Right? So that's the reasoning behind my company name, just so that it's branded with me. And yeah, I have 60-second tips every month that are posted. And sometimes they're from me, and sometimes they're from my guests, right? And from things that they would recommend for people from their industry or whatnot. And so, I mean, if you don't have a minute to spend on yourself, I question whether you're serious about what you're doing.
So looking at the time, I got my phone, and I'm going to time you 60 seconds. I'm not actually going to time you, but what is a tip, a media tip you can give to any entrepreneur that is watching right now?
Oh, okay. Okay. A media tip that I could give to people easily that I can do. If you have, you want to pitch yourself to a newsroom, make sure that you have the following things in place before you even decide to reach out. That you have a proper bio about yourself and about your company. That you have a website, right? An active website that doesn't have any spelling mistakes, that has working links, that has up-to-date information, up-to-date photos on it. Make sure that you have professional photos available.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure, and this is for some people is a new thing, but everybody has a cell phone. And so have some B-roll, what we call B-roll in television. So when a reporter is talking about you, or say you have Banki's new spaghetti sauce, then we can see some video of the sauce, somebody using the sauce, putting on some spaghetti. And so there's visuals to go along with your story. Especially if you're pitching to television, you have to always think visual, right? They can't do a story and just talk all about Banki's spaghetti sauce. We want to see it, right? So you have to provide that, especially in this day now, because they're not sending cameras out to shoot things anymore because of COVID. So you want to make sure that you make everything as simple as possible for the media industry, so they have everything to tell your story. And you also want to make sure that you're in control of your story. So, you are shooting your product, or you're photographing your product or yourself how you want to be seen, so that it's not them taking it and then you have to accept how they shot it, or they took a picture of you, right? So if it's for print or something like that. So, have those things, in place, and before you even think about pitching to a news organization. Was that a minute?
I wasn't counting, but I think it's amazing advice. I love it. We're about to go into the towards the ending of the show, and we're about to go with a game. The game is called Business Confessions, and I am going to give you a business scenario, and you respond either with a lie or a confession, right?
Okay.
Um, so let the game begin.
I feel like I
Okay,
should.
love it. Tell me about a time when you had to set boundaries to a client.
I think that actually that's boundaries for a client and for myself. It was like both things. Particularly when I first started out, I wanted to be all things to all people, right? I wanted to, and then by nature, I'm a person who likes to help, right? Fix problems or whatnot. So I made myself a little too available, and so I pride myself on getting back to people right away. And, if they call me or they contact me, I'm, ready. So we're hooked to these things, right? So,
Yeah.
I get an email and I stop what I'm doing and I'm responding right away. And so what would happen then was that, and this is the boundaries for the clients would, reach out to me or call me or text me, right? At like 10 o'clock at night, midnight, weekends. And sometimes I would always start with, sorry to bother you on a weekend. Whenever you're starting your sentence like that, don't bother the person, because
You already know.
you're doing it though. Like it's just, you are doing it. So maybe don't do it, right? Because it's not, you shouldn't be doing it, right? Wait, everything can, unless it's like a true emergency, everything can wait until the next day, right? There's always tomorrow. So I had to really, and I did, it was the year before last, I had to really um, set some boundaries, not feel obligated to always answer when someone called me. I fell in love with scheduling. So this was a habit that I had, that I always felt I needed to respond. So I would respond and then I would schedule it. So it would go out, during the business hours, right? So I got it out of my system. I didn't forget about it, and it was dealt with, and it will be sent to the person during business hours. Because the thing is that once you respond, they're, oh, she's up. Oh, she's, and
Yeah.
then it starts, and then next thing you know, you're working, and it's, you're not doing whatever you were doing. You're not watching a movie anymore. You're not in a moment of spending time with your family or whatever the case may be, because that they're engaged, you feel the need to engage. So I had to sort of set boundaries for myself in that respect, right? And recognize the things about me that was enabling this behavior. And then I had to set boundaries for my clients by not responding every single
But
time.
I love that you said that you set the boundaries for yourself, right? And I love that because it in life you need a balance, right? And if, you work, late at night sometimes, and it's good to set those boundaries so that way you're not working late at night. You say, you know what, today's the cutoff point for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a glass of wine. I'm gonna sit back and enjoy the rest of the day.
Exactly. Yeah, sometimes it's hard, right? Because I am a person who likes to I like to get things done, and I will work on something until it's finished. And so it's a process. I'm not saying it's totally solved, right? But yes, to say, okay, you know what? It's 8 o'clock. I got to shut it down. And I had to, and I do tell myself, there's always tomorrow. Like that's what I have to keep reminding myself. Tomorrow's another day. You don't have to finish everything today. Like nobody's expecting it at 9 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night.
I had to get into the habit of giving clients, potential clients, my link to my schedule and say, just book an appointment with me, so that way I can make time for you.
Yeah.
I have to really. So I because I relate to what you're saying, I would say it's a confession.
Okay, let's forgive ourselves.
Fennella, as we come to the ending of the show, what does the future hold for you? What would you say? 6 6 months from now, a year from now? What do you
Well,
think?
I have, believe it or not, I have another company,
Mm-hmm.
FKB Productions Incorporated.
Nice.
And so I am now sort of laying down the groundwork for agency, grant writing, and um, I don't want to say, or I'll say television, more like doc or television production, right? So I want to do that under that umbrella, and hopefully 6 months from now, I've started already doing some things, but it will be in swing. It's just I need to just clone myself. That's the problem, baby. There's a
No,
lot of yeah, there's a lot of things that I want to do, but so that's where I see things going for me. I'm still going
mhm.
to continue with FKB Media Solutions, but I'm trying to see how I can sort of automate certain things. And I wanted to, I wanted to go back to one of my services I forgot to mention, which is one that I'm very excited about, and that's helping me to sort of streamline some of the PR stuff. Is that I have something called Find an Expert that's on my website.
I was going to ask you about that because I saw Robert Small was on there. I
Yeah,
saw other people was on there. Trudy, I saw a lot of people that I recognize their faces and stuff like that.
exactly. So my find an expert is people who have either be my clients, and so that I know that they're media ready, or they've gone through media training with me, and so they're on that site. And so we just started this year. We do a weekly mail out to over 300 newsrooms across the country with our 5 topics, 5 experts of the week, letting them know they're available and can talk on these issues. And we've been successful booking our experts and getting them placements. And so I'm really excited about that because, like I said, it's very hard to do everybody, right? But this
Yeah.
way, I can sort of help, particularly small business owners and professionals, get some media placements and get their voices out there and supplement, because some of them are doing their own PR based on
Mhm.
things they've learned from me, which is great, but to supplement that as well. So I'm really excited about that portal, and it's growing, and that's another feature that we offer.
So I have a question. So
Mhm,
let's say like I'm in the health and wellness space, right? I do
mhm.
yoga, you know, and I'm looking for someone, to help me with PR. Would I then find an expert in that field like Trudy to help me? Or is that what it's for?
No, 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 no. It's for them to,
Mm-hmm.
like, say the social was looking for somebody to do a segment on burning tummy fat, because that's one of the things
Okay.
that Trudy does. Then they would say, hey, Fennella, we're interested in Trudy. Is this something that she could do? I would
Got
see
it.
something she could do. I have her whole package. I would send them all the stuff that's necessary for it. I would make sure that she's prepared for the segment, work with the producer. So it's just to get her a placement. So it's not, I mean, they also have great businesses. You should check them
Yeah.
out, definitely, because they're
Mhm.
all entrepreneurs who are doing great things. And I encourage people to support them. But yeah, so it's for them to get media, and it's
Got
for
it.
the media, and they also know about my site to come to my site, particularly when they want like diverse, quote unquote,
Mhm.
voices, right? Because we see the same people, giving expertise all the time, and so let's like mix it up a bit and bring someone else who can talk, and not just about race issues or Black issues, but just to talk about psychotherapy and mental health, or to
Yeah.
talk about, the Oscars and films, and not Black films, but just the Oscars in general, right? So that's
Mhm.
what that's the narrative that I'm trying to push.
I love it. I love it. I love it a lot.
Thank you.
It's sad that we have to end the show right now because there's so much we could be talking about, and there's so much more to learn. For anyone who's trying to reach you, how can they reach out to you?
Well, my website, there's a contact page on my website, so you can that's on the last page, the contact us page, so you can reach out there, and on that same page you can sign up for our newsletter. And I'm on Instagram, as you know, Banki, all the time.
Yeah.
So you can always follow me on Instagram. I like that's one of my main platforms. I also am on LinkedIn, and I am very active on there as well. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter as well, but I don't do as much on Twitter. I just post periodically. But those are my three social media platforms.
This show is live right now on Twitter.
Oh, hi Twitter. I don't know. Twitter doesn't love me. Like we used to be good, and then I guess I don't have that much. Like I'm not angry about enough stuff for Twitter. So we're just sort of like there. We have presence, but I wouldn't say I'm an active Twitter person.
No, I hear you. I think I'm the same. I'm mostly on LinkedIn and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
For everyone who's watching, thank you so much. If you enjoy this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and see you next week, Thursday. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
If you enjoy our programming and want to help support Black entrepreneurship, please donate today. www.businesstakeout.com/donate.